unless you keep like your current homework in your big binder and then you put like past homeworks in your math binder. Like I might start pulling people at AO to talk to them about like, hey, why are we 3 or 4 homeworks behind at this point? Now some of you then might say, oh, I turned those in today because I did them over the weekend. That would be great. So here's your chance. If you did homework over the weekend, turn it in. Because a lot of people forget. Like you did it over the weekend, but then you forget to turn it in. Sorry, Sophia, I told them I'm going to have to break your heart. 2 per table. So I moved you up. Just you're so close to them. You can still like reach out and touch them if you need. Friend, don't touch me. Okay, 212 is on the back counter. If you don't have it, get it. 211 was from last week. Let's check it. I don't need that. So 211. 211. As I walk around, I should see it done, not frantically copying. So really, we aren't even supposed to have pencils in our hands right now. We're supposed to be checking with like highlighters or pens or things like that. So if you're filling in your plan book, some of us are still filling our plan book.
I'm still filling up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Wait.
Where's my binder? I swear.
What's going on? Because it seems like some drama.
That's
Okay, while we're checking homework, especially because it's being recorded, go find your binder. Because you're like getting yourself worked up in a tizzy. That's Lane's binder. Hold on, because I just remembered I was supposed to bring. Alright, questions on these problems. Convert the following fractions to decimals. We want to get it over a nice denominator like 10, 100, 1000. Sophie? I mean, you can go from percent straight back to decimal by just moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So that's okay. You're really close. If you're at percent, you're really close to decimal. So you can, yeah, you could roll quickly do it. Don?
I don't understand like 2, 8, like the first question.
Say
like,
more. What don't you understand about it?
Like how you did, like I don't understand like.
So if you order a whole pizza and it is cut into 8 slices, how many slices do you expect to show up? 8. So any number over itself. I was just showing 10 over 10, 100 over 100, 1000 over 1000, just because those are the numbers I picked, but any number over itself. So.
Can we go check what the waffles is?
Sure, that's fine.
If I did that in like decimal, is that fine?
I mean, as long as it's a number over itself.
Because like that would be like 0.1 times 10 equals 1.
No. So, well, I mean, yeah. Okay, yeah, because it's asking how many tenths, how many, yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
When I thought about tenths, I thought like, oh, decimal.
Yeah, that's okay. 10 tenths, 100, 100. No, that's totally fine. 10 tenths, 100, 100. Now, guys, that's because we work in a base 10 system. Right? Base 10 system. So we go tenths, hundredths, thousandths, which we wrote down like on our graph paper notes last week. I think we wrote that down on our graph paper notes. Alright, moving on. I should not see people doing the pizza problem right now, but if you need help on it, please ask Ronnie. So what we need here is common denominators. Mario ate an eighth. His dog ate a third. Darn dog. So we think about eighths and thirds. What common denominator could we get? 24 will work. So we do times 3 to the eighths, get 3 24ths. Times 8 to the thirds, get 8 24ths. Add those together. Now if I draw a little picture, right? Mario ate an eighth. So if I draw a little picture, it's a small amount, right? His dog ate a third. So, I mean, if I just kind of try to picture out what it would look like. Close to a half is left, but then we do the math, we find out 13/24. If you need more help with common denominators, come work with me. Like for real, guys. If when I explain it in class, like if that's not enough, you probably just want to come see me, which is why we have AO and why we have extensions. I'm available during every AO. We make it that way on purpose. I don't have reading. I do not ever have reading in my room. I'm always available. No matter what AO you have, all year long, I'm available. Just to say it again, I'm available at AO. Every AO. My job is to repeat myself. Repeating myself is my job.
I didn't really understand that.
So, if you had a number generator and you were just thinking about your chance of this happening, what is the chance of a multiple of 10? Well, those multiples of 10 are the numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50. So take a moment, look at these, see if you can make sense of what I had written.
Oh, so you're just making multiples of 10.
Homework out. Okay, then work on a different one. Pull out today's, pull out a different one.
Technically, can you go to like 60?
No, because your number generator only goes 1 through 50.
Oh, yeah. So you're trying to.
So your chance of it being not 100, all of these numbers are not 100. That'd be 50 out of 50. This one's tougher, not a multiple of 4. So I had to count all of the multiples of 4. Guys, those of you doing your homework right now, it's super obvious, and I'm real worried that you're not letting yourself actually learn it by practicing it. Probably of a 1-digit number. Okay, there's 9 of those, right? 1 through 9. Guys, this is being recorded. Like, you can go back and check this again on your own, but right now, if you didn't do this, you should be listening, not trying to copy, because then you're not listening. You should be listening right now. If you're going to copy one, you shouldn't, because you're shooting yourself in your foot. If you're going to copy, go back and do it later. Right now, you should be listening or asking questions. That would be even better. So my spinner, half of the sections are green. There are 14 sections. So what's half of 14? 7. 3/4 of a different, guys, you got to pay attention. We change spinners, right? Different spinner. So then we get 18. Our repeating decimal problem on the back. Now, guys, you could have also put these into your calculator because a fraction is division. And does it say without a calculator? No, so we could have put it into a calculator. If you want to go to try to get to tenths or hundredths or thousandths, take your hood off, please. 14, mean and median. Median is your middle number. Mean is add them up, divide by how many we have. Yes, Sophie? Guys, just to say it again, the 2 is what chapter we're on. You don't really have to tell me that. I know we're on chapter 2, but go ahead. It's on 13. So a fraction is a division. So let's say, for example, you're looking at part C, and you have 5 over 99. What that also really means is 5 divided by 99. Because it's 5 99ths, so it's 5 out of 99. Give it a second. So you literally type it in as a division. 5 divided by 99. And that one actually comes out to be repeating. But be careful, because you can't trust your calculator. If I did like 55 over 99, calculator. The last number's a lie, right? So you got to be careful. Don't 100% trust your calculator. The last number is sometimes a lie. If it is running out of space, it lies to you. Sorry to tell you. All right, come see me if you want any more help with like any of the problems we've already talked about. For probability of our marbles here, guys, the trap door that I don't know why we all keep like looking at and jumping into, the denominator in probability, the denominator has to be your what?
The bottom number?
Yeah, but what does it need to be? It's always.
Common denominator.
Nope. Now we're guessing.
The same.
Oh, all the numbers added up.
It's always the total, right? It's everything added up. So this is why we need to be practicing on our own to check, can you do it on your own? If you just copy it, you have no idea if you can think it and do it on your own. And our diamond problems, I forget if I told you guys, I think I told you this during class, right? Raven, you're fine. Go ahead. The top is what you get when you multiply.
Yeah.
The bottom is what you get when you add. And if they don't give you the left and right numbers, it's like a puzzle that you're trying to figure out. So part D here, what we're trying to figure out is, okay, what two numbers are going to multiply to make 28, but add to make 11? So would 1 and 28 multiply to make 28? Yes. Would they add to make 11? Absolutely not. 2 and 14, they would add up to be 16. They were getting closer. 3 and, does 3 work to multiply to 28? Not nicely. So I'm going to skip over that for a minute. 4 times 7, ding, ding, ding. Found it. And what are we doing here? Greater than 1 fractions? Yeah. Oh yeah, improper.
Those were fun.
I hate the name improper because a lot of times improper fractions are better. Improper makes them sound bad. That's really silly to me. All right, flipping back here so you know what you need out. 2, 1, 1 can go away. You need 2, 1, 2 and the graph paper from last week. You need 2, 1, 2 and the graph paper from last week. You need 2, 1, 2 and the graph paper from last week. Yeah, like where we labeled it like chapter 1 math notes. Yeah, I posted at least one. It probably says Jenga in the title of it too, though.
Oh. Oh yeah, I know that.
So, I will save you some work if you still have your math notes from last week. So what I'm looking for as I walk around is that you have kept track of this graph paper. Because what we want to check that we still have is this for 2/3. But then I want you and your partner to try to take these 3. We'll say part D. You can do part D if you want. Take these 3 and convert them into the other forms. So if it's a fraction, make it decimal and percent. If it's a decimal, make it fraction and percent. If it's telling you in words, turn it into numbers. Question to what you and your partner are doing right now. This is just on graph paper. I do not think it's on your homework. I really do not think. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is on your homework. Oh, hey, look at that.
Oh, how can you?
So on your homework paper then. But I should also see our graph paper out because we're looking at that 2/3 to remember what we did last week. Go ahead, start working with each other. What is the first one? How do you say it? That might tell you how you write it. Come all our partners. Sorry you wouldn't be back here as a trio, but we're only 2. Sorry, I don't know why I keep doing that. But Arfon is your partner, Sophia. Guys, only 2 per table in this class. If you come in and try to make a trio, aside from up here, I'm going to break up your trio. So Sam, you got to turn around and talk to people behind you. This is on camera. Don't work harder than you need to. hey, there's ice back here. Don't worry about it because it's carpet and it will melt and it will be fine. Let somebody else.
So for the 0.75,
You're following the directions I just gave. If that was part of the directions I just gave, then yes. I'm tired of repeating myself, guys. The what? No, because I told you guys just decimal fraction percent are the main. As long as you can say it out loud. Like you don't need to write it in words as long as you can say it. Yeah, you do not need to write the words as long as we can say them. You do not need to write it as long as you can say it. They do need to write it in the other form. So write it as a decimal. Write it as a percent. Like you want these examples to refer back to. Alright, so we're gonna do new week that I shuffle up today, but I'm gonna try not to shuffle, and I have to like fight myself to shuffle. I'm gonna try not to shuffle again until we make it all the way through the deck. Emery, start us off. How do you say that first like number in A?
7 tenths.
7 tenths. How do we write that as a decimal?
I thought 0.7 because that's,
And you could have actually.
but Bethany told me that it could also be like 0.70.
So you can, and you could have also just said the same thing you said again. You could have just said 7 tenths. Because guys, you should have in your math notes from last week, and it might be in a different spot, and if you chose not to write this down, you might want to write this down. This is the tenths spot. So if you're putting 0.7, how we say that is 7 tenths. And Bethany's right, we could put 70 hundredths. You don't have to, like you could, but we don't need to. So we got fraction, we got decimal. You want to do percent, you're going to move on.
I want to do percent.
All right, what's our percent there?
70%, because if you
Ooh.
take,
Maybe that's why Bethany put that extra zero.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
if you take 7 tenths and you times it by a giant one of 10, you can get 100, 70 over 100, which then can be 70%.
If we do giant 1 of 10, right, times 10 times 10, we get 70 over 100. Any questions for Emery? Good work, Emery. Lane, help us out with this next one. I don't want to say it out loud because I want you to try to say it correctly.
I said 75 hundredths.
75 hundredths is correct. How do I write that fraction?
I did 75 over 100.
Yeah, you could say the same thing again, right? 75 hundredths. Absolutely. And then our percent?
75%.
There we go. I know that was really tough, right? I'm big braining today. Sam, what about C?
3/5 is, so 3/5 would be 3 over 5.
Pause. This is where most kids make mistakes when they haven't forced themselves to practice and learn. The fraction 3/5 does not turn into 0.3, does not turn into 0.35, has nothing to do with the 3 and the 5. Please do not just try to shove numbers somewhere. How do we get to decimal form? Sam, it's your problem, so if you can answer, I'm going to keep it on you. There's another fraction on the way. Like on the way to decimal. Do you know what that other fraction is? It goes back to what should be in our math notes. We have one of those denominators that we want. These are the denominators we really like. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths.
Tenths.
Yeah, we can get this to tenths. How do we get there?
Times
2 times 2. So now, what does this become as a decimal?
0.6.
0.6, or if we read it right, it's pronounced
6 tenths.
6 tenths, which as a percent,
60% or 60%.
60%.
I did that one.
Who, what?
I did we did not get 60%. We got we times it, what was a giant one of 20, which got 30 over 100, which got 30%.
So 3/5 should be 60%. It should be 0.6. Hey, Sage, is there a reason I can hear you from up here? What are you saying? Who, what?
I'm talking to myself.
Is that appropriate 7th grade classroom behavior?
No,
Are you doing that because you're sitting next to Lane?
no.
Because my first thought is if I move you away from Lane, that behavior might stop. Do I need to try that, or can you fix this on your own?
I don't think it's on my own.
Okay, I expect you to fix it, or I'm going to move you. Are we clear?
This way.
Okay. Guys, let's go over this again because some of us are making mistakes, and that's worth figuring out. 3/5 is not ready to become a decimal or a percent. It doesn't have a denominator that we like. For percent, we would like a denominator of 100. But if you do times 20 on bottom, hey Emery, you do times 20 on bottom, 3 times 20 is 60. I think you did the times 20 on top wrong. There's a mistake somewhere. If you do times 2 first, we can get to 6 tenths, and the decimal is either 6 tenths or 60 hundredths, but they're the same thing. 6 tenths and 60 hundredths are the same thing. So if you struggled on this, you should probably put this on your graph paper. As an example, on your graph paper, that would be a really good idea. Donna, you okay? What's wrong?
I'm struggling on this.
Okay, why?
I'm
So raise a hand and ask a question.
how do you struggle on 5?
How what?
I'm just raising
You gotta make words for me.
It's confusing how people are getting confused by this for her.
It's confusing.
Okay, well what you're saying is kind of rude right now, so if you're confused at why people are confused, just keep that to yourself. Is anyone struggling with what we're doing here? I can times 2 on bottom and top. I can times 10 from here. I can do whatever I want as long as I do it fairly, do it to both.
Yeah, I understand. I just made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, math mistakes happen, right? Math is tough. Decimal to fraction practice. I want you on your graph paper, because I, again, don't think I put this on your... Yeah, this one's not on your paper. So on your graph paper, you're going to copy down these decimals. And guys, you can just do it one at a time. All I want you to do is convert it to a fraction. You don't need percents. You don't need verbal. Just convert it to a fraction. And if you don't have this on your paper, you might want to put this on your paper. Tenths, hundredths, thousands, right? What we wrote down last week, if you chose to write it down. If you chose not to, feels like a bad choice, but order in front. I'm going to try to give you guys probably 4 minutes to do this, 3 minutes. 3 minutes would be 30 seconds each. Let's try 3 minutes.
Sure, so I have a question. Should this be on our notes?
I literally said graph paper
Or
like
should
3
this
times.
just be on normal graph?
Graph paper. I would put it on the graph paper in your binder that you can refer back to and check on. I would just, guys, if you really want me to tell you what to do, start a new paper. Start a new piece of graph paper. This is not new, but start a new piece of graph paper and label it converting or conversions. If you really want me to tell you what to do. Here, this is what I would do if I was you. Label piece of graph paper, conversions, decimal to fraction, fraction to decimal, arrow going both ways. And then the top of it will be decimal to fraction. And hey, guess what? The next thing we're doing is fraction back to decimal.
Wait, what did you write on the graph paper? Conversion what?
D to F with just a double arrow between. Because we're going decimal to fraction, fraction to decimal. Mm-hmm. Who what? No, because again, then it would just look like random. So guys, in getting better at taking notes, like I know this is a skill that we need to work on because we're in middle school. Your notes are only as useful as what you make them, unless teachers put in all the work for you, and then you don't really learn as much. Like, the more effort you have to put into your notes, the more you'll actually retain it in your knowledge. If you only write down the fractions, it just looks like random fractions written on a piece of paper. If you write down what you're doing and have both the decimal and then the corresponding fraction, it will be a lot more useful when you come back here. Like, I don't know, maybe during a mini mastery that might be happening Friday, cough, cough, nudge, nudge, because we're going to camp next week and we should probably take another quiz before we leave. So, Carolina, how do you say this first number? 1900ths. How do you write the fraction? Oh my gosh. It's like if we say the decimal correctly, it tells us how to write the fraction. Bethany, how do I say this second one? So if I covered up this, what's this number? And then what decimal place does it end in? So, sorry, I asked that question kind of weirdly. What decimal place is like tenths, hundredths? What's the third one? If we need to check, that's why we took math notes. If we need to check, we flip back at our math notes. What's the third spot? Thousandths. So that gets 1,000 on bottom. Guys, this is why we take notes. We take notes so we use notes. Question, Caroline, or trying to answer more?
Could you also bring the decimal back too and get 39.1 or not?
No, so you're talking about converting it to a percent? Like, what do you mean? There are other ways that we could write this, but...
Could you get a percent and then you turn the percent into a fraction? Could you do that too?
So, this as a percent, sorry to bump down, let's say B with a star. So, 391 over 1,000 would be 39.1%, would be the fraction 39.1, over 100, this is when it's bad. This is what we call a complex fraction, and we do not like them because they involve decimals inside of the fraction. They're bad. So what we would do to fix that, and they're not wrong, they're just not nice. So we would times 10 on top and bottom, which would get us back to 391 over 1,000. So really, we just want to work in that form. Devin, what about C here? How do we say that? Yeah, and that is exactly how we write the fraction 1/1000. Anyone got any questions on these first three? I'm getting bored at my desk, so I'm coming to the board. 50. Nope, let's move on to trying this guy because I want to make sure we cover a couple of these before you do your homework tonight. Think about these for a second. And then grab a calculator to test it out. And if you don't have one in your bin, come grab one. And then you can leave it in your bin. If there's not one in your bin, come grab one. And you can leave it in your bin. When we put these in the calculator, what do they become? Do not trust the final number. Right? Because it might be a lie. I would not trust that final number. And I would write down a couple of these on that graph paper that we were using. So if your calculator is not giving you a decimal answer, it's probably in the wrong mode. So it depends. So if you're using one of these, you're going to want to go in and play with, so hit mode, top buttons, and you might need to switch it from Math Print to Classic. So second, quit. Second mode again, we'll let you quit. So what's that first one that we're trying to do? 19 over 99. So guys, it's good to practice using a calculator because you got to practice using the tech. Like if I try to put grandma on Google Docs, she's going to have no idea what's going on because she has no practice. Do we trust the last number? No. So 19, guys, I'm trying to wrap this up real quick because I know I got to get you out of here in like a minute. 19 over 99 became what? 0.19 repeating. Our next one we had was 391 over 999. And guys, I can kind of clean up my notes by like sectioning things off. Right? It makes it a whole lot nicer to look at. What does 391 over 999 become? 391 repeating. So we use the repeating bar. And that's all the time we have for today. So we're going to pick this up right here tomorrow. Try your homework. Put in some good effort to practice. Come back with questions, please. Come back with questions. I don't think I can fit a third one across here. Yeah, well, they were wrong. You were right. It's a them problem, not a you problem. Retrain yourself. You should ask questions. The smartest people ask the most questions. Well, she was probably an angry old lady that might need to quit teaching at this point.